Alrighty. So we are recording. All right. It's been a while. This podcast is garbage, and we've been in sort of a off-season summer lull. We're gonna do impromptu podcast to start shows off again. We brought in a guest, Chris Vasa with Roadrunner, who's a little bit down the road from us, and we've kind of crossed paths before. I think you said you've seen some content of ours.
I have.
We overlap in some Facebook groups with trash people.
Sure.
So roughly introduce yourself, kind of tell us about your operation and the conversation you had with Mitchell and Nate that kind of brought us, because you weren't here to do a podcast, you were here to kind of look at the operation.
Yeah, we were here to check out the operation. I've known Nate for a few years. We did some storm cleanup years back. I ran into you guys on YouTube. I think I ran into Thor quite a few years ago running a side load truck in our territory back.
Oh, you guys
are
are running on the same routes?
Yeah, I actually
maybe it's a landfill.
You and I didn't say this earlier. I think we crossed paths in North Bend once.
Maybe.
Because I was sent to get a bucket. It was during that flood cleanup.
Sure.
I had a flatbed truck, a personal vehicle, and I was like, they're like, go get this bucket. And it was wedged in there somehow. And I was familiar with Bobcats, but not cases. And I was like banging this thing on a curb trying to get it off. And I think you might have been there.
Probably.
Or maybe your brother. I can't, I don't know. But one of you was like, because you were in North Bend.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yep, for the storm cleanup.
The storm cleanup, 2019.
Yep.
So it's been a while. But I think it was you or your brother. I knew it was a Roadrunner person.
Sure.
That's like, no, the trick is this. And the bucket came off, and I was like, I kind of felt foolish. I was like, I know how to run these things.
We all do that.
Yeah. But no, it was appreciated.
Gotcha.
So, when I heard you were coming in, I was like, okay, I was in town for doing some maintenance on the Sidewinder.
But you're primarily running in like the Wahoo area, right? And
Yeah.
What's
Saunders,
the town you're based out of?
Saunders County. Our operation's based in Weston, but Wahoo's our primary customer base. But Saunders County in general, plus or minus 10 or 15 miles, we say.
Yeah.
Yep. We're running rear load trucks, roll-off trucks, cable pole roll-offs for the bigger roll-offs, and then we run a 36-inch hook lift, single axle for the small roll-offs. So pretty similar operation. I don't think you guys have gotten any roll-offs in the area yet, but
Nope.
it's about probably 40% of our revenue, maybe, the roll-offs are.
Okay. Well, so we were talking because our operations are similar, but I think the biggest difference we have is where we're unloading.
Sure.
Because when we went out and drove just a little bit ago, I showed you that our transfer is right in our backyard.
Right there, yeah.
And then you're telling me that you're unloading in Bennington, correct?
Yeah, Bennington. It's about an hour away from our shop, probably 45, 50 minutes in a truck anyways, from Wahoo, our main customer base. So,
And that's the closest place for you.
There's a little bit closer, but it'd be more costly per ton.
Yep.
Other costs.
So, the most efficient place is an hour away.
Yep.
Okay.
So that makes a difference. Yeah, we're trucking it versus dumping in the backyard would be nice.
Yeah,
And we're also dumping in the landfill, That's tires, that's wear and tear, mud, stuck.
And for anyone that's not trashman lingo, backyard's not literal backyard. We have a transfer station in town. Because there's a operation years ago. I heard of a place. The guy was actually dumping it at his farm place backyard.
We used to dump it all over the place back in the day.
So
that's why it's called a dump.
Right. But yeah, that is an advantage we have.
Yeah, a very nice facility here in town.
Yeah.
Dumped on the concrete, loaded into transfer trailers. Look like walking floor trailers.
Yep.
And then that goes up to the coalition. So different than our operation. We're driving an hour. Drivers after the route, driving an hour to dump, coming back.
Right.
Well, I was just showing you our operation and kind of telling you how we set up our routes when we converted stuff over. But then I have to understand that you guys have to drive an hour to a landfill to be like, okay, how would you play puzzle with this? Because it's all about setting up routes, getting your weight correct, and then being able to get to wherever you're dumping and back, and not have issues with being overweight or having too longer routes. Yep. So that's kind of what was getting me more than anything.
So when you send a truck to the landfill, do you run two guys to a rear load, or is it one guy per truck?
We run two guys on the rear loads. Yep.
So does the one guy get dropped off before he?
Typically, we'll try to stage the trucks to fill, not all at the same time.
Right.
So typically, the one helper will just hop on another truck.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Then you're saying that's two big guys on payroll.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, you don't want to send two guys to landfill. Plus, then you're paying.
Well, the guy doesn't want to go to the landfill and ride along for
No,
that either. Like,
no.
Well, some of them do.
I mean, yeah,
But,
it's
it's payroll.
Plus, then you're think about that. You're scaling in an extra 180 pounds.
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Who wants to do that?
yeah, and his gear if he's packing
Sure,
lunch and all that stuff. That's interesting. Yeah, because that was one of those things. I think I was training with somebody years. This is way back, and they're like, "Well, send it to landfill." I was like, "Why did we both have to go?"
Right.
Dumb.
Can I just stay here at the gas station?
But your routes don't always work out like that. I mean, you're not
Yeah.
at the shop when you're like ideal. Like you build your
Yeah.
route a certain way, and
Yeah.
you know you make loops or do whatever you
Yeah,
want
when it's
to
most
do.
convenient to the dump. But yeah, I get it.
I think a lot of that efficiency is lost in the bigger operations as well.
Yes. No.
We're just this is your route. This is what you do every Tuesday, whether the truck is half full or whether you have to go to landfill and come back and put
Yeah.
30 stops on and then go to landfill again.
that I witnessed that a lot when I was at. I won't say which big
Sure.
four company I was at, but there is an issue where as you scale up, you can't keep track of everything. It doesn't
No.
matter what sort of monitoring devices you put in trucks. Like there's so much waste where you'll have guys that if they want to milk the clock, they'll find out.
Yeah.
And they know the tricks.
Yeah. Oh, I'm full. I'm going to the landfill.
Yeah.
I gotta do 20 stops when I get back, and then I'm going to the landfill again.
Yeah, yeah. Or there's just it's hard to keep your staff trained up to snuff to know the logistical variables. There was instances where, I knew of one driver that was in Lyons, all the way one way, and they're like, "Well, can you run your previous route was Clarkson? Can you go run a go back there?" And they're like, "Do you have any idea of what you're asking? Like that is like 40 miles the other direction. You're asking for like 2 to 3 hours of
50,000-pound diesel truck.
right. Like you're talking about spending $400.
Like
Yeah.
the labor
Go back.
component of what that would cost is the cheap
Yeah.
component. Like
But you got inexperienced people cycling out of the office or drivers.
Yeah.
And there might be a new driver that's like, I don't care. They asked me to do it, so I guess that's what we do. And it's like, you just spent like $400. Sure. You'll never make
But we
money.
charged him $5.
Right. You'll never make
I charged
money.
him.
15. Come on.
Yeah, you can run that stop for another 30 years and there will be no margin.
Sure.
But when you have large operations, it's hard to get vested personalities. Like since I've been at Ace, my mindset about how I run routes has been totally different. But I knew we're a smaller operation and those margins are low. And I can do that rough math in my head where I'm like, okay, does that make sense or doesn't make sense?
yeah, it's easier to be company focused when you're like at a small like
Yeah,
niche
yeah.
organization as
Yeah.
opposed to like a corporately owned
Yeah.
like, conglomerate.
Right,
It's
right.
the
And
nature
then
of the beast.
yeah, and then if there's like mutual respect, because there's been managers I've worked for, and I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care about you or your operation.
Right. Or it's like, yeah, we'll just burn diesel.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll drive to Clarkson.
Yeah,
I'm
you
game.
bet. Yeah, I got AC works. Cool. Yeah, let's go.
So you came over this morning, and we obviously started in the office, and you guys were kind of looking at different things we do in the office as far as like software and routing, because I mean everybody just does stuff differently. But then you and we went out and we met up with one of our side loaders. Tyler was driving his Friday route, so we got in the truck and rode for about 20 stops. But Thor, I'm going to pass this one off to you. So when we were on our way there, Chris and I were talking about side loading versus rear loading.
Yeah.
And Chris is like, now what is like the exact like number behind if you have two guys on a rear load picking up both sides of the street?
Yeah.
How many stops are they doing versus like what is a side loader capable of doing?
Yeah. Okay. So that happens a lot in the.
I think that's a big debate, right?
No,
like, can
no,
two
it's
guys
totally
running both sides of the street
Yeah, that's-
outrun a side loader?
So to me, it's not the debate of if they can outrun the side loader.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
the side loader, I'll give that territory. The side loader's going to dump more cans,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But it's the efficiency of
Mileage.
the mileage,
Yep.
the wear and tear on the truck, of
Yeah.
driving both sides of the street.
Yeah.
I
So-
misframed that.
all right.
Correct.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
were
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about the dollar number.
Totally
behind
fair. And that sort of comes up a lot in the comment sections of videos because guys are like, "Oh, I could have ran so many stops in that time." It's these guys doing these macho factor.
Yeah. But you get back down to what we discussed is like your body can only do those reps
Yes.
so many times.
right.
which is a component of it. But you're correct in like it is way more expensive to go down the street twice. You're burning more diesel.
Well, let's frame this all first because we're a few minutes into this podcast. Fundamentally, you're here discussing like talking with Nate and Mitchell about at what point would you buy a side load truck?
Yeah. At what point is it
Yeah.
going to make sense for us to buy a side
Yeah.
load? And
That's the
and
whole
what
reason
kinda,
you're visiting here.
Yeah. And what kind of benefits does that have, or negatives is that going to have for our customer base as well?
So, converting to side load, like you're immediately able to change. Like I know one of the issues you had early on was you were kind of disappointed in yourself what your payroll was. Not that you were paying out too much. You wanted to pay more, but you wanted to justify it. It's like if you're paying guys a below living wage, you feel irresponsible.
When you run a small business, to me, you want to pay your guys as much as you can reasonably, because then you're going to be able to attract the best talent, meaning that they cause the least amount of headaches for you. Sure. Just a simple premise.
So when you brought me on, it was initially you knew I could drive side load, so we'll help convert to side loader and route. And routing is, like, I didn't think it was a big puzzle, but apparently it is. It breaks people's brains.
For sure.
It's that what's that game with the golf tees and you're hopping them over?
Yeah, the triangle thing.
I'll put an image up of it, and the goal is to get as few as pig as possible. And some people are not good; they do not have a good brain for it, and that's fine. And it's not, I'm not saying they shouldn't be employed, but maybe they shouldn't operate like a 50,000 pound commercial truck. If they can't,
or if they do, they should have a route prepared for them.
Yeah. Like just.
And once you see, the other thing is you're a victim of what you don't know. Like you've never seen a side load route routed. Well, once you see somebody route one and you drive one, and then you kind of like figure out, okay, this is what we're doing. We're doing loops.
Yep. So the one thing I also want to amplify is the stuff you don't see, or the things that don't happen. When the guy's in a truck, and I will say this in content all the time, it's very hard to get injured in a truck. You get injured out of the truck. And what's really expensive is like medical claims.
Yep.
Those suck. And I was at a company where they paid those, like they would build this end of the year pot of gold type safety bonus for the team. And I could get my individual bonus, which was like pennies compared to the big one. And I hated it because it caused so much resentment among all the drivers, because you just knew it's like that one bastard. He's going to be one that just screws everybody. And every year they do a knee, an ankle, a shoulder, or some dumb thing. And that's them not even hitting stuff. That's just getting injured.
Sure.
And it would happen right before winter so they could take the winter off. And I was like, God dang it. That doesn't happen.
Now there's no big pot of gold for the rest of us.
Yeah. But it would come right around Christmas time. So, this was like early on when my only income was a little bit of hay, because I was trying to start a hay operation, and mostly what I was making as an hourly employee. So when you didn't get that safety bonus around Christmas, there was like, there's not good mentality there.
But back to your point, like getting injured outside of the truck, you're way more prone to getting injured inside of the truck.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just eliminating that potential liability.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we know what workman's comp is. It's crazy expensive if you don't have claims.
Yeah. Even if you don't have claims. Our mod is great.
Claims.
Our mod just got better, but
so that was
industry standard for this industry. It's just high.
So the day I ordered the side load was the day I had a guy fall on the ice.
Right.
I had a rear load guy hop off the back, and he got into the gutter of the street.
Where the water's sitting.
Where the water sits, and it froze overnight, and then there was snow on top of it. So snow on top of ice is that's white ice.
Yep.
And so he got off, he fell, and that's when I was like, we're not hopping on and off trucks anymore.
Yeah.
If we lose 30% of our customers because they're like, oh my gosh, you guys have to rear load and take our mounds and piles, so be it. We'll lose 30% of them. We're getting automatic equipment. Like we're bringing this to present day.
So I think that's probably a question a lot of people want to ask. A question a lot of people probably want to know is like, how many people did you lose when you went from, hey, I got a bunch of crap laying here in a pile to, because this has been a transition for you.
So I will say I don't have a number, because
you have an idea though.
I have an idea. It's kind of a water under the bridge thing. It wasn't fun losing the customers. We lost them, but from what we initially thought we were going to lose to where we're at now with compliance, we really didn't lose that many, and. He frames it better than probably anyone.
Yeah, I was about to cut you off. Go ahead.
When he came over here, he saw what we were doing at some of these stops, and he explains to us, he's like, I get, like, you don't want to lose customers, but if it takes me 3 or 4 times longer to service a customer, and you're charging them the same price as a person that sets out a cart like a normal customer, we're not making money here. Like, you're losing money. It's a problem. It's not a customer.
Yeah.
So just get rid of your problems.
And your good customers are subsidizing that
Yeah,
one
subsidizing
customer
that.
because
But-
everybody's paying the same bill.
Yep.
And the other thing is, before you convert to side load, you have a lot of problem customers because rear load's pretty easy to get along with them. Once you side load, you got to get pretty particular and be like, it's a cart, you set it out, we can grab it, we keep going. But a lot of the problem people comply with you because they're your customer, they see your new trucks, they see that you're trying to make a better company, a safer work environment. A lot of the problems, so to speak, when you convert, they become compliant customers, and then the people that don't want to come along with you and like make it so that way you can run side loads, those are the people you just don't want.
Yeah.
Because they're the people that pay their bill late. They're the people that want extra for free. They're the people that want way more than what they're supposed to get, and truly get subsidized by all the good customers.
Yeah. I was going to say, because along that line, for every 10 customers we lost during that whole transition process, there was probably like one or two that we could have been more diplomatic, where it's like, oh, yeah, we could have done this or done
We could have
that.
done it better.
Yeah,
we could have done better
We're-
after.
You're going to
we
make
did it.
mistakes.
Hindsight's-
Yeah, exactly, hindsight. But then there's a lot of them where we'd see the competitor start picking them up, and you're like, thank God.
Yeah.
They can
You just
deal.
smile when you drive by those stops
Yeah.
because it's like,
There was one day there was one of those stops I was driving around. It was down by a park, and I saw the guy hop off the back of the truck and start hand loading all this stuff. Didn't even have their company cart with them. It was just all these personal cans.
Sure.
I serviced 6 carts going around the block doing a figure 8 by the time I saw him get back on that step and take off. And that's because I roll up, 12 seconds later it's empty and it's down.
Yep.
And not only that, you're up to speed at 12 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from the time you hit the brakes to pick up the can to
Yep.
get back up to speed,
Boom,
you're
boom.
at
Yep.
11, 12, 13 seconds.
Yep. Start like you're applying the brake,
Right.
and now you're hitting the accelerator, 12 to 15.
so I would say one of the biggest things that, looking back, that I learned was when I looked at my routes before I converted to side load, I'd say 50% wasn't compliant. Like 50% would have worked that day, but 50% wouldn't have worked. And I looked at those 50% as like, oh, that 50% is going to leave. And it's like, no, they're not going to leave. They just need to be taught that,
Yeah.
here's the new way we're going to do it. Here's why we're doing it. And if I had it to do over again, we would have sent way better information
Sure.
out, like
But it's tough
explaining
to know.
why
You don't
we're doing
know.
it.
Yeah.
But you couched it a lot as safety, right?
Yeah.
Safety, safety, safety. The
100%.
Yeah.
Anytime anybody asked, it's safety, safety, safety.
Which is true. I mean, there's the efficiency factor, but safety is a big one. Like I said, it's very hard to get injured.
But back to what he's talking about as far as the costs then of
Oh, right.
if you're double running a street with a rear load versus driving that street twice with a side load, the side load's more expensive. You've got the maintenance factor.
More wear on
You're
the
probably
tires.
paying the guy more that's driving it.
Yeah.
The density is the variable.
Very much solid. Yeah.
If it's dense enough, it's worth doing.
Yeah.
If it's dense enough, it's worth doing.
If each
and you'd
block
be
is dense
surprised
enough.
it doesn't need to be that dense.
Sure.
Which is kind of crazy. We run a recycle route through Columbus. North is 1 week, south is another week. It's every other week. It's 420 total stops, I want to say, or maybe 450. So one route is 225, the other route's 225. And we can run 225 stops in, I think he's doing that in 5 hours.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
So he's
'cause when
averaging
used to
about
do-
50, and that's what you were
He's averaging 50 an hour. No, I used to do that with a rear load before I got side load. So we started recycling with a rear load. I could not do 50 an hour with
That's
that
awesome.
low a density.
one guy by himself
One
in a
guy-
rear light.
One guy by himself
that'd be
in a
pushing
rear
it.
load.
That's hustling. 50 an hour. Because even if you
'Cause
got
it's
carts
such
close
low
enough,
density.
right? But because you might have had a couple instances where the carts, the recycle ones, were close enough, you could park the truck once and get 2 done. But that's still
Very
hustling.
rarely.
That's still like
Well, and to me, that's when the rear load gains speed, is when you park the truck and you're emptying 2 or 3 at once.
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
that's when
Yeah,
rear
2
loads
cans
are
right
awesome.
side, 3 cans
Yeah,
left
yeah,
side.
yeah.
Like,
Side loads
knock
are
'em out.
awesome when you can't do that because they'll just murder a rear load. Because again, rear loads, if you're parked, you just want to empty as many as you can right then and there.
yeah.
So when you have, if you were to take a guess, or maybe you have a real good idea, how many stops are you picking up an hour in, say, Wahoo, when you have rear
So-
load with one guy?
So you got a rear load with a helper on the back.
okay. So
You're spending a minute at every stop.
really?
So 60 an hour.
60. That's the way I look at it. Is we're spending
60 an hour is good.
And
Like that?
I think that's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
decent
yeah.
number,
Yeah.
but you're paying 2 guys.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. With the helper on the back, I would have thought that could have expedited a few things.
Yeah.
You know.
We plan for, and that's how it works out in the route sheets. Like, you look back at the route sheet, you got 10 stops, and it was about 10, 9,
Sure. Okay,
8,
that makes
7
sense.
minutes.
Yeah,
You did
that makes
15 stops. Yeah, that's 16 minutes.
Yeah, because when we first converted to side load with that Kenworth, Bridgeport, the first week I took it out, I think we're averaging 60 stops an hour with the side load, and then as we
Yeah,
refined
but
it,
shortly thereafter, once you learn
80,
the system,
90,
yeah.
yeah. Like we started at 60.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we're doing 100 an hour, but we're probably upper 90s is kind of the upper bounds we
Yeah.
found.
Yeah,
And to give people perspective, that's in Columbus, Nebraska.
Yeah.
With about 50-50 coin toss on the market share.
Yeah,
exactly.
50%
Yeah,
density.
yeah. Because
So-
I did a video showing that truck could probably cycle 200 times an hour if you had a stretch of townhouses and everyone had full
you did. I'm
compliances.
sure you did a lot of the trailer park.
Yeah.
I mean, when you were,
Yeah.
wasn't that 130, 140
Yeah.
an hour?
Yep. Easy. Yeah.
And that's full. I mean, those are full containers too.
a
Well,
contract,
that's your packer will be your bottle.
your limiter.
because
Yeah.
you can only pack so much or
Yeah.
so fast.
You got
It'll only
three
cycle through.
three cans topped off full from Christmas, and you go boom, boom, boom. They're all.
But the nice thing about that trailer park was
Yeah.
if it fell out of the can,
It stayed on the ground.
there
Yeah.
was no.
Yeah.
It was just canned, and that was it. And
Well, there's
it's
a-
amazing how like, stuff gets stacked.
Yeah, and we had a rural contract town, not at Ace, a different company. A rural contract town, 420 stops that I would finish by 10 to 10:30, starting at 6. Rolled up to the first stop at 6 in the morning. 4.5 hours later, had 420, 430 stops finished.
And that was every house.
So
every house, rural contract. So and the lots are bigger. Trailer park, real tiny lots. Everything's
So the trick to getting these numbers is compliance.
Sure.
Yeah.
The trick to compliance is getting your customers to comply, and the better compliance you get, the more efficient you get. So that shrinkage along the way of the people that don't want to comply, you end up making more on the other side
Yeah.
because you get that much more efficient.
A big part of your
The
business
shrinkage-
is training your customers continuously, having processes
Yeah.
on how to train
But
your
converting your
You probably
customers to
spend
being
double as much time
Yeah.
on that can that's 9 inches away from that mailbox as
Yeah.
you do on the can
easily.
that's out in the open.
Yeah.
I would say it's about double the amount of time
Yeah.
to dump that can.
Go watch the content that I post where I'm like trying to tease it away from a water sprinkler.
Yeah.
People are mad because they're like, it's taking too long. I'm like, I want to show you why this is a bad idea. I want to show why a backwards cart lid open by a sprinkler head is terrible. And so that was kind of like, it was for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're thinking, how long have you been thinking about doing side load?
I'm resisting doing something.
You're resisting.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's honest.
I'm
Well,
not
so
good.
Vasa is Latin for resisting change.
Nate knows me.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're also resisting. We're a local small town company.
Yeah.
Family. My family's been in the area, so we've done very well in our little area.
Sure.
So we've had no reason to start a website.
Yeah.
But as we filled out that area,
Yeah.
now do we want to grow a little more? We think we want to grow a little more, and now we need those tools. So we're considering,
Yeah.
a little more
So
software
that-
on the
So
office
are you
side.
wanting to grow because you want to start offloading some of the labor? Because I imagine as an independent person, like a lot of labor is you.
A lot of labor was me.
It was you, and
Yeah.
you've kind of alleviated yourself.
We've alleviated some of it, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that we want to grow because we want to work less or
Work
offload
more.
the labor.
I'll illustrate this way. So when I do hay on the side,
Yep.
I used to throw it to a rack.
Yep.
That sucks. And
We do
now-
small squares also.
Yeah, so I use a bale wagon.
Yep.
The little thing that accumulates it. It's not that I work less. It's just that the hours I do when I'm done, I still feel like I'm not a zombie at the
Yeah.
end of the day. Or there's been times where I'll walk in from doing hay at 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, and I'm like, I cannot do this. Like this is not. That was like when I was 30.
Sure.
I'm 39.
Yeah.
So there was a couple evenings I fell asleep on top of a stack after tarping it in the field, and I thought, this is fucking terrible.
This is not a good idea.
This is not the way to do things. So I need a loader, I need a grapple, I need a bale wagon. I don't want to work less hours. I just want to not die.
Sure.
So
That's
a
part
fair,
of it. Yeah, that's
okay.
fair for sure.
Okay.
And I think we've gotten to that point, but we've just shuffled that labor onto somebody else,
Yeah,
and that only goes so far.
sure.
or until somebody gets injured. So
Yeah.
when we first started this, the conversation came out as, I don't think of it as changing to automated. I think of it as it's probably inevitable at some point that some of the route goes automated.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of whether we choose to do so ahead of time, or somebody gets hurt and it's a safety thing, or it's an insurance thing. The insurance rates get so high that you just have to go automated. You can't afford the work comp.
Yep.
Or we get the routes dense enough to where it just makes total sense.
Basically, you're saying I need to see enough pain for long enough to change.
Yeah.
But I think it's true with all.
That whole resisting change thing.
I feel like that's a lot of small companies out there.
That's a lot of people.
But it's true with all businesses that you leverage technology and equipment to like make it more efficient. Because like the more you can bill per employee, naturally the more you can pay employees. So like every company has an advantage to like leveraging technology and equipment to getting the most like per employee.
Sure.
And like with garbage, it's automated equipment. Like that's how you do it. So, I mean, it's almost just from like a competitive standpoint too why you would do it.
Right.
Well, and if you and then you're also trading up in the quality of employees because you can pay them more. They're doing more. They're more responsible, but you're going to get some durability out of them.
Longevity.
Longevity.
You're not burning.
You've
you're not
offered
burning
more
somebody out or
benefits
hurting
now,
somebody.
and as the business has grown and done better, you've been able to offer those things that a lot of times people just didn't afford before. There's a lot of guys on the back. How many of them are single guys that don't care about they don't care about health insurance or retirement or any but they're not going to be there 20 years with you. It's until the next time they get thrown in jail or
So yeah, Nate brought us up here to show us some of the software too, and then obviously the trucks automation stuff too. So appreciate that, of course, and taking time out of your day to show us some things.
Yeah. Because we were talking about automation the whole time. I guess I don't know much about the office to ask good questions as far as how your current back end operates.
Yeah, we just started building route sheets on Microsoft Excel, which I presume you probably used previously.
Yep.
But your mother said you used a custom software. Was that a routing software? Or
We had a custom routing software that a guy built in the late 90s, and they ran it up until, I think, 2016.
Yeah. So your
And
route sheets were printed off of that
The
software?
route sheets were built on there. It was all internal on that software. But like another company we acquired, correct, he was like all on Excel.
Yep.
So, I mean, I've done it both ways.
Sure. So an interesting thing I thought, and we do it a little differently, and I don't know, there's certainly other companies that do it this way. So you mentioned every other week recycling.
Yeah.
So our routes are built off of what week of the month.
Oh,
So
first and third, second and
there'll be an Excel spreadsheet for Monday, and there's first, second, third, fourth, fifth Mondays inside that spreadsheet. And then Tuesday we'll have another spreadsheet, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. So we offer recycling, but twice a month service, which is second and fourth Fridays is when it gets picked up.
So do you have weekly stops mixed in with like your seconds and your fourths,
Absolutely.
your ones and threes? So what I do is I put those all in the sheet, and then they're marked. And then if it's a 1 and 3 and you're on the second week, you just put trash not out.
Sure.
Skip stop.
Yeah,
So
so
I build them all out within there, and then
Yeah.
it's a longer route sheet, but you just click through
It
it.
works in town, but a lot of our business is rural. So are you going to drive in that driveway every week and say it's not out? No, you're not going to do that.
No,
You
no,
might
no.
not
I'm
even-
just saying, like, if it's the second week and I know that's a 1 and 3 stop,
Sure.
I'm just
Just
marking
write not out on it. You're not
yeah.
going to that stop.
So what I'm getting at is I just have them all in one sheet together,
Sure.
and then the driver knows what week of the month it is.
Yeah, I don't know much about the back end of stuff. I know trash flow. I think you could build separate.
Well, they like it's pretty good, but then you
Yeah.
just figure out what works for you.
it would work. It would
Yeah.
just take a little customization.
Yeah. I do like as a side load operator. It's nice to be able to just check things off.
Just go to the next box.
Yep.
Yep.
Because you would be surprised how much time gets eaten up when you have to stop the
I
truck.
don't need to stop at these 3 stops. I just
Yeah.
need to go to that next
or
one.
just like flipping through sheets. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, we did it. We did 5 or 6. Okay, let's check off. And then you had issues where some people would even touch sheets or tablets.
Yeah.
I know this route. I'm just doing my
No,
route.
just gonna wing it. Yeah, grab everything. Don't charge nothing for.
I love the
And
guys
honestly,
that are like,
when
I
it's
do
a-
this part of town.
When you're
Yeah,
a rear load,
right.
you don't charge extra and you throw everything in. That works.
Yeah.
But the minute you like get side loaders and expect compliance, you got to have tablets to make notes, charge extra, just have good documentation because the office gets a lot of phone calls, and when the office gets phone calls, they have to have good data on their end.
Absolutely.
that's
So
critical.
We actually talked about that earlier on the extras.
Yeah.
Yep. So we've got extras in there. You got to have descriptions, and then if it's
Descriptions
a lot,
of the extra.
notes.
What was the extra? 4 bags plus mattress plus box spring?
Yeah.
Is it that detailed? Because it is in ours, but ours are paper sheets that we're writing this stuff on.
Yeah.
You type it in, and then it goes and saves to the customer card.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you can take a picture too.
Like
So
if-
you get something crazy, you take a photo, and then they have a photo when they call in.
The photo is the big one. I used to, like, anytime I charged $8 or more, photo every time.
Sure.
Because the policy was, if I get out, it's $5.
Yep.
You know, if I get out to put it back in the cart or get out to throw it, finish, because you'd be surprised, and this is still an issue 2 years in. I logged probably 50 clips this year alone for could have or would have fit, where it's like, all right, pull the brake,
Yep.
get out, and it's like
There's a bag on the ground.
open the
and there's
lid.
3/4 full tote.
Yeah. You're like, why would you do that?
We're bumping the extra charge by 10% for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, it's,
I'll charge $5 for that. Like honestly, if
Yeah.
I pull up to a house and they got their cart completely filled and there's a couple bags next to it, that's $3 to me.
Sure.
If I pull up to a house, the
Yeah.
cart's half full and there's a bag next to it, meaning that the bag would have fit in the tote, that's $5.
Right.
Like I penalize that hard.
Yeah, because there's a lot of times I can grab stuff with the arm and I don't stop. So I'm
Right.
like, $3.
Yeah, sure.
Over what? And there's been one place I cycled probably 3 carts worth of contractor bags, charged them $3 because it was just
Easy.
Yeah, I was like, this is awesome. Like I look, and that's obviously that's not enough to charge for probably the weight that I picked up, but it was just
It didn't slow you down.
a
They did a good job. They did a good job.
but it's someone that has a mutual respect. It's
Right.
like, I know this guy's working, so I'm gonna invest in the good bags. And I'm
Right.
gonna tie them. What a crazy idea to tie
Tie the bags.
tie the bags. Oh
Now, if you want to, I'm just going to say 2 words here, and you
yeah.
get Mitch's packing peanuts.
Oh,
You're gonna rile them up. You're gonna rile them up.
Were you on the phone with me when that happened?
Yeah, I was on the phone with
Yeah.
you when there was packing peanuts that weren't in a bag that was tied. I think that was
No.
last-
It was
Box.
It was a box outside of the cart, and the box was completely full of packing peanuts, and the box was pretty big. And I grabbed it, and when I grabbed it, for whatever reason, when I went up, it tipped the box 180 degrees, so then everything in the box fell out, and it just snowed. It snowed in July.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't know what to do. I got out. I tried cleaning it up, and then the neighbor went this neighbor's yard, who's a customer, and he was irate. He's like, "You got to clean this up," and I'm like, "What?
How?
What do you want me to do? It's like a bomb went off."
Yeah.
So, anyways, him and we cleaned the whole thing up. I cycle 40 more stops, and then I'm going to the transfer station. I go over the viaduct, and I catch this wind. All those peanuts that we spent all that time picking up and getting back in the truck, they just went whoosh.
And I was like 2 or 3 minutes behind
He
you.
was right behind me because we finished
Yeah.
at the same time.
Because I was on the phone, I'm like, some jerk off is just leading packing peanuts all the way down the viaduct, and it's like, I knew it was you.
I'm just you're just watching in your mirrors. They're whooshing out, and I'm on a viaduct. I can't just stop the truck and try to
Yeah.
fix this.
And it's for me, it stresses me out when it happens to me because people think, oh, you're just a careless person who who doesn't care.
Yeah, when it's you, you get the heat on you. You think it's all
I'm
on
like,
you.
No, but it's like, dude, I actually care. This
Sure.
is why I tell people, put it in the container, put it in a bag and tie it. And and then I'll get out. There's been times I'll get out and grab a Walmart sack
Sure.
that blew into someone's yard.
This is why there's 7 bungees on each side of my roll off.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that cares, I
do
swear.
care.
But when
I
that
do
one
care.
flies out, you're like, oh, everybody's going to hate me.
And then you have 700 customers, and there's a handful of you that you feel like, and I always say to people, and I haven't had to train anybody for a while, but I always say, don't take it personal, because there's going to some
I took
behavior.
those packing peanuts personally.
Yeah, you do.
I
You
took
did,
that personally.
and they weren't. It's not.
I know. I'll remember that stop forever.
I know. I got
you
those
will.
houses too. You don't wake up thinking, or it's no one wakes up thinking, how am I going to ruin the garbage man's day? But man, they do find ways. And you're
Yeah.
like, wow. You almost would have thought this was a plot against you, and it's not. It's just out of 700 people, someone's going to do something that.
Well, and like that neighbor was looking at me like this is my problem.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, what do you want me to do? I mean, like, I was like, this happens all the time.
Yeah.
People don't bag and tie their garbage, and stuff just goes everywhere all the time. He's like, really? Like, he couldn't believe that. And I'm like, well, you should go down to City Hall and do a bag it, tie it mandate.
Yeah.
And tell
Yeah.
City Hall, if it's not bagged and tied, it's a $50 fine.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that'd clean the town up quite a bit.
But if you're the guy following that truck,
Yeah,
you're not the guy. So it's like,
yeah,
sucks for that guy.
yeah. I know. Then I could laugh at it.
Right.
But no, I've been on the other end where someone thinks it's like I'm just being reckless, and it's like absolutely not.
No.
Like I actually take a little bit of pride at the end of the day that I try to be faster, safer, cleaner. That's always my mantra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a question. Have you ever? What's the best thing you found on route?
Oh, good one.
So I go back to when I was a kid, and this.
So how long have you been picking up garbage?
My mother started in garbage about.
So you were born into it.
Yeah. No, I wasn't born into it. I think I was about 10 years old or so.
But doing it since you.
When my mother got a job in the business. Yep.
Okay.
Shortly thereafter, probably a couple years after that, at probably 12, 13 years old maybe, we got a dog. Great German Shepherd. And come out of the Douglas County landfill.
Nice.
Dog puppies were in the landfill. And one of the dozer operators took one of the other dogs, and my mother took one of the dogs.
Yeah.
Both the dogs ended up named Dozer,
Oh, of course.
randomly.
Yeah.
And the son of the guy that was running that dozer now runs the dozer at the landfill. And I see him once in a while. And so now we had a little bit of a bonding, like, oh, you're the one that had the other dog. Yeah, you had the other dog. Yeah.
Nice.
And they're both named Dozer. So
Nice.
I say the dog's the best thing we got in the trash.
That's a good
That's
one.
awesome.
Power wheels.
Where do you
kids.
think they came from? They just wander into the landfill, or
Could have had a litter there.
I think
you think
that-
somebody just dumped them out when they were
I
there?
think that I like to think the best of people. So I think that the dog had the litter in a front load can or something in Omaha.
Yeah.
Nobody threw those dogs away, right?
Yeah. It was
No, people wouldn't do that.
No. Yeah. Let's not John Wick this.
Right.
thing.
So I like to say, like, certainly the mother just had the puppies in the front load can, and the front load guy didn't see them.
Yeah.
Like, how's he supposed to know? And they just ended up in the landfill.
Well, there was a lot with garbage trucks and a transfer where kittens would randomly show up. And
Sure.
the stray cats would show up and be like, well, here's a little pocket by a recycle baler
Yep.
where there's a nook, and they drop a litter there. So maybe that's like, is that the question we want to end on?
Yeah, we can.
Really have you found anything awesome?
You know, so my dad and brother, like my brother's 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
When they used to pick up garbage, things weren't like so disposable. So they would find all kinds of good stuff. But that's when things weren't like, it wasn't so like overran by Walmart stuff.
Right.
I can't say I've ever like found anything.
I took home a 3-basin stainless steel sink. I think Walmart was tossing it out, and I didn't mess with it yet. But I was like, God, all you got to do is like bend it a little, and it's gonna be perfect. Because I think as they hauled it off, I don't know why they hauled it off.
He
but
didn't mess with it yet, so he brought it home, and it's been sitting there.
Yeah, it's been sitting there. It's like that's how farms work.
It's a problem for
Okay.
garbage man, I think.
I'll get to it. I got every farmer has got like.
I think it's a garbage man thing. Like, we'll
Go visit.
Farm
take
plays
this
a
home.
factor
I'll use this.
in it.
I'll use
I was
this.
gonna say-
Farm,
Yeah.
farmer in him plays a factor.
I was gonna say go visit some
Farmer, garbage man.
Not a
got
good
bad
combination.
combo.
Bad problem.
I will say one of the things that I'll rant about when I moved out to this like inherited farm place was my ancestors didn't throw anything away.
Yeah.
So I'll be
Nothing.
like using an excavator or a skid loader to clean up. I'm like, why in the hell is there so much metal and glass here? Like, and then they'll be like, well, buried it over here too, and buried it over there, and
Don't you
buried.
have like layers there?
Yeah, dude.
If you don't do roll-offs, maybe you haven't seen it, but like doing roll-offs,
yeah.
you see the hoarder houses. It's like,
Oh, so
Ah,
gross.
yeah. No.
let's not take this home.
Yeah.
From the trash.
Those
'cause
are the
we don't
people
need
that
it. We don't
have-
need to store it. Like
Yeah.
remember that one house that had all that stuff?
Those
Yeah.
are the people that have one bag a week for like 10 years,
Yes.
like one little bag. And you're
Yeah.
like, how do they have such
House
little
is full.
garbage?
And
And then when they like go to the home or
Yeah.
you know
Sell the
whatever
house.
happens, somebody like goes in the house and like, oh my god.
That's why
830 yards of roll-offs came out of that house of trash.
I've been pretty good about getting rid of stuff. Like,
That's what they all say.
I got a good system
so
where
textbook.
as I clean up, it's like, well, here's my metal pile. here's a concrete pile, and here's some organics. And then every once in a while, I'll burn that off or get all metals to haul off.
But don't touch it, pile.
No, and I don't have a trash company that comes out, so every once in a while I'll just fill up the 4 toters and be like, we're getting rid of everything.
Started a Power Wheels graveyard at our yard where the roll-offs sit.
Wow.
Hoping one of the kids will like start tearing apart, put switches in the motors and stuff, and build stuff. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but
Yeah, put like some DeWalt
Sure.
batteries into it and kind of up the voltage. 12 volts not enough. You got to get that thing up to 18.
so much
20.
stuff though.
Yeah,
It's got to go somewhere. That's what we do.
yeah. I think it's a farmer thing too, though. So
Well, Chris, I'm glad you got a chance to come over.
Thanks for having us, hosting.
yeah.
Absolutely. You're far enough away where we're friendly.
Yeah, yeah.
Any
It's
closer,
amazing
I don't
how
know.
that works, right? And I thought that when I first saw you guys, I'm like, oh, they're far enough away, and we're never gonna go to Columbus. And
Well, I think
It's my biggest pet peeve about garbages is like everyone's like really territorial and nobody like shares information.
Yeah.
And it's all like the mom and pops that don't share information. And it's like, you guys should share information
Yeah.
because your common enemy is the big companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But obviously, mom and pops overlap and there can be issues there. But
It depends on the personality. There's some
that's a
people
lot
I
too.
would not want to be. We don't have to have them come in for a podcast. I'll say it that way.
cool. Yeah. No, thanks for coming
Yeah.
over and anytime. Hopefully, the side load debate goes well with you guys and you get it figured out.
the
Yeah.
debate will continue.
You're welcome to come back in a few weeks or whatever if you feel like you had some more observations or questions. This was impromptu, so we didn't frame anything, and
Sure.
we're
Yeah.
winging it.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome. All right. Well, have a good one. And everyone follow on YouTube or Spotify. I will say I did mess up. I didn't record the first 20 minutes of video. So that's
That's why I got up.
that's why I got up, but it's all right. Well, I'll fix it.